Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Amanda Started a Podcast. This week, there is no guest, or rather, there is a guest. Me. I'm the guest. I'm going to tell you why I started Amanda Started a Podcast. I'm going to tell you kind of my story, I guess, from the beginning. My name's Amanda, and I started this podcast basically because when I think about myself at younger ages, who I used to be, kind of like the journey I've been on to get to like who I am today. While I don't regret anything, I kind of think that some things could have helped me, like some knowledge or being told certain things could have helped me along my way a little sooner. I think everything that has happened in my journey this far has like made me who I am. I grew up in a really small town outside of New York City in the suburbs. And my sister kind of said this to me recently. I think she was talking about Allen Ginsberg because she did her whole thesis about some of his work. And she was saying that like he grew up in the suburbs. He felt like an outsider looking in, where it's like so close to something. Like you grow up outside of New York City and it's like you're so close to everything. The whole world is right at your fingertips, but you're like still 45 minutes away. You know what I mean? So I think like with looking back on it now, I can say like I grew up in this place feeling like a different type of person. Like I didn't feel like I fit into this cookie cutter mold that maybe was kind of like the norm of the town I grew up in. I think a lot of things that shape everyone in their childhood and like their adolescence shaped me. Both my parents are from the same area. My mom had all her best friends. To this day, she'll still say some of her best friends are from when she was literally 5 years old, like literally preschool, kindergarten. They all grew up together and they were all best friends and they stayed super close. And my mom had a huge emphasis on her friendship. So me as a kid growing up, seeing my mom having this super tight-knit friend group and like these really intense friendships that were like super important, and she always seemed to value them so deeply, it put a huge emphasis on friendship for me and how important that is. I tried to be like the best friend I could to all of my friends, like forever and always. I feel like that's something I really valued in myself, but I don't know if I was in the right place at the right time with the right people. Like I said, I kind of felt like a slightly just like not your standard cookie cutter girly pop in a world that was a little bit cookie cutter girly pop. I think because like I was always trying to strive for like these close friendships or for this connection or the support or something, I always like tried to like put my whole heart and prove my value, my worth in friendships. And I think that didn't necessarily work out for me in like growing up. I wanted to go to a college where I thought like I knew nobody and I could like start over and like really do the whole thing like my own way, blah, blah, blah. But I also kind of feel like I ended up in a similar situation with similar types of people, kind of trying to like prove my worth and my value in friendships rather than knowing my worth and my value and maybe finding friendships that like supported me or different types of friendships, perhaps, because I think I didn't really have people that I feel like I clicked with in the way that I have now. And I guess like a huge part of the reason I wanted to start the podcast was because one of the things I would say to like my 12-year-old self, my 14, 13-year-old self, my 18-year-old self, my 21-year-old self, like all in these times where like I really thought I was like living like the high school experience that you're supposed to live or living the college experience you're supposed to live, and like just deeply knowing I wasn't happy. And I think a lot of people will say like these are like the best years of your life, like blah, 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 blah. And I definitely didn't feel that in the moment. And maybe sometimes I tried to pretend like I did just so that I would feel like a sense of belonging, but I definitely didn't. And I wish I could go back to those versions of myself and be like, bitch, it gets so good, don't worry. And just because you're not clicking with the people now and clicking with these friends now doesn't mean that you won't ever click with people the way that you're supposed to. And like, don't give up. I gave up on this idea of like what I thought I would have for friends. Like I really did. I had like a real I had a chat with myself one day and I was like, this life for you? Because I also got really into like spirituality kind of throughout college in the way of like, I don't know if that's the right word, but like speaking to like a psychic medium or this and that, and like kind of learning about like your life path or kind of how many lives you live as a soul or something like this. So in thinking about that, I think I had like a real chat with myself in college. And I was like, because I had been through some like pretty demonic torturous behavior from some friend groups in my high school and college days. And I had like a real like sit down moment with myself in college where I was like, bitch, I don't think friendship and fun is for you in this life. And then I think like because I said that, I was like, damn, okay, if friendship isn't for you, if like the college experience of like really, I don't know, just feeling accepted and like in this community thing isn't for you, then what is for you is how hard you're going to work and how talented you're going to be at whatever it is you choose to do and how successful you're going to be. I went to Drexel University where there's like a co-op program. So like I did 3 co-op stints. I had 3 full-time jobs during college for 6-month spans. So that was like internships or like jobs. So that you graduate with all this like real world experience. And after my my third co-op at Urban Outfitters Corporate in Philadelphia, I worked on the Free People digital marketing team. I stayed on full time. So I worked full time and I was going to school at night because I was like, you know what? College really isn't my zhuzh, right? So I'll fucking work my dick off and I'll have so much fun and I'll make friends at work. And like maybe I won't even make friends at work, but I'm gonna have fun at work and I'm gonna be successful. And I'm gonna like do all this shit, right? So I'm working at Urban Outfitters Corporate, having a great time. I think like anyone will tell you that's worked there, like when you first get there, it is fucking sick. Like, especially the time that I worked there. I started working there in 2014, I think, and left in 2017. But like at Urban Outfitters, I worked at the Free People digital marketing team. And then I quickly moved to the Urban Outfitters creative team where I did photo and event production. And it was just sick to be part of that team. Like some of the people I worked with were just so creative, had incredible like resumes and great experience. And it was like just chatting with them. Like I learned so much from them, but it was also just so cool to see how they were working at that time too. We were doing really fucking cool stuff. We did the first Urban Outfitters parade float for Pride in Philly and even in other cities too. We would also manage like regional events elsewhere. And I helped produce my first photo shoot. I was like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be around these creative people. I'm supposed to be like doing this work. Again, like I still didn't have like all these friends or whatever, but I was like, that's fucking fine. Like, I mean, I had friends, but I still feel like it wasn't fully clicking. I worked on the creative team at Urban Outfitters when the brand marketers were bringing back like Calvin Klein, making it what it was in this like time period. So it felt like Urban Outfitters had like a really great hold on the culture. It was just sick. It was really cool. And like the Navy Yard that it's in Philadelphia, like with all the different buildings that like make up the corporate headquarters, like everything is sick. Like you get there and you're like, oh my God. And like every year you saw like the interns come in and they would be like, oh, and it's like, it literally was like that. But very quickly people get jaded just because it's life. And that's kind of like what happens, right? But I also felt personally for me, my whole time living in Philadelphia, it wasn't my city. I think when I first got there, when I first went to college, I was like, I thought every city was like New York, which is silly goose of me. But I got there and I was like, oh, where's the city? And then I think sometimes I double down on my decisions. I'm like, no, I will make this decision right. Or I chose to do this. I wanted so badly to do this, so I'm going to make it work kind of vibes. Maybe in hindsight, I could have, and again, I don't want to regret anything I haven't done, but maybe I could have taken myself out of a situation I wasn't happy in and potentially thought about transferring schools. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, hindsight's 2020. I wouldn't have ended up at Urban Outfitters Corporate probably if I had left Philadelphia. And I had such a fun time working there. Like it really was sick. I hung out with so many of my coworkers. I started making friends that I really felt like matched my energy, kind of. So I really started loving that. I was hanging out with them a ton. Around the same time I finished school, I wanted to move to New York full time. Having been from the suburbs, it was like always like New York City or nowhere. Like I kind of thought like, especially when I went to school in Philadelphia, the reason I didn't go to school in New York in my mind was like, because I'm going to live in New York the rest of my life. So like, why would I just live there for now forever? Like, why not try something else before? So I moved to New York, but I moved to my parents' house. I moved to the suburbs, not where I grew up. They moved to a different town, but I moved in with my parents to save money because I was like doing like random freelance, like any single job I could have gotten, I was taking it. Like I was doing event production for like a wedding, like wedding events. I was doing like graphic design for like an event space and restaurant on the Upper West Side. I was producing like food photo shoots for like the restaurant's website. Like I was doing like any little thing that I could do to try to just be in the city, get to know as many people as I could because I wanted to be in New York so bad. Like at the same time, after I graduated from school, I got offered full-time positions in Philadelphia at Urban, at like agencies or like bigger, like other companies. Like I honestly got like, there was event production companies. Like I think I had like 3 or 4 job offers. I refused to take them because I was like, I'm not even going to take this because I want to be in New York. That's the goal. Like I'm not going to take this job even just for the time being while I find another job in New York. Like I'm not going to do it. Like I was just like so hell-bent on it. And like people, like my friends or like people were literally saying to me like, you're being stupid. Like you need a job. Like what are you doing? And I was like, no, I'm gonna make it work. And that's how I've been like hard-headed or stubborn or something about these things kind of like my whole life. Like when I decide I'm doing something, I'm fucking doing it. So like I said, I was doing like random social media coordination and event production and this and that and the other thing. Like any weird odd job I could. Like there was like a recruitment agency that like had me doing social media. Like I was doing anything I could to basically get a job in New York. So I move in with my parents. I'm just like, I just need to be in New York, so I'll make it work. And like, obviously I'm so fucking privileged that I was able to stay at my parents' house and commute to the city as much as I could. It was like 40-minute train, basically one way into like the center of Manhattan. So I was doing that, I think 8 months. Like I would walk home from the train and like my little like trying to be smart, casual, but also stylish outfits, like just trying to get like any job, right? Whatever. I'd be walking home to my parents' house because it was like a mile, I think, the walk. And I would just like cry. And I'd be like, how is it all going to work out? How is this all going to happen? How? And now I look back in my life in every aspect of the like every time I'm like, I want this to work, but I don't know how and this and that. I'll be like a little crybaby. And now I recognize it in myself. I'll be like a little crybaby. It's like, how is this going to work out? How's this going to work out? How's this going to work out? It's like, bitch, it will. You just need to keep figuring it out because even like now, there's certain things where I'm like, how is it going to work out? I want this to work out. How? And it's like if you dwell on the how so much, you're missing the present. You're missing like all these fucking great things that are happening. And now I look back on that time specifically. I think about this one Bleachers song that I fucking love. Like, I don't care if it's cringe, but it's like, I knew I was lost, but I missed those days. Ba-na-na. And it's like dead ass that. Like I was like lost, but in a not lost way. And I miss those days so much because like I would go for like gorgeous walks and I would go and have like my mom and her best friend lived like right down the street. Like I would just go and have happy hour with them all the time and like laugh about nothing. And like, I don't know, there's just so much like joy and like positivity I look back on with just flash forward to like me now or me a few years ago trying to move to Berlin. I was like so obsessed with being like, how is it gonna work out? How? Like, and it's like, and it fucking did. And it will, because like, I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna make it work. And it's like, don't be so obsessed with like the future planning of it to not enjoy where you're in it now. This is still fucking sick. Like the process of things is still fucking sick. I feel like I jumped right into my whole story, but basically because of having this whole sit down thought with myself of not being like, okay, this life for you isn't for friendship. This life for you is to be successful. That's also a crazy thing to say to yourself, I guess. But I wanted to start this podcast. One of the reasons being to go back to that younger version of myself and be like, bitch, you're gonna find friends one day and it's all gonna work out and you're gonna feel happy in yourself. You're gonna love yourself too, because that's a huge piece of it as well. Like I'm sure lots of people feel this way and they don't want to talk about it and they don't want to admit it because maybe it is fucking cringe, but I fucking hated myself. Like talk about eating disorders, talk about all the fucking like body dysmorphia, hating yourself, not being like comparison to other people, of course, like blah, 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 blah. I did not love myself. And honestly, not until like COVID lockdown did I really like work on that bit of me that I think like really needed to be worked on. And that's one of those things that I wish if someone had taught me about self-love, figuring out self-love, affirmations, meditation, like mindfulness, like if I learned about these types of things earlier, I think like a lot more would have been better for me. I think that's like a whole piece of the podcast that I also really want to talk about a lot. And I have been with like my guests so far. So I'm working in New York doing random odd jobs, but like all like just figuring shit out and like whatever. And I end up getting a freelance job as a creative service coordinator at Jones Knowles Ritchie, which is a global branding agency. And I ended up quickly starting there full time, like got switched from freelance to full time. And I was fucking like, I had the best time being super young, working in New York at like an agency that had like such big clients. everyone that worked there it was very like, I hate when people say this, but it was very like work hard, play hard mentality. I don't think I ever left work before 8 p.m. dead ass. And like I'd be there a lot of times until like 11. And if we weren't there in the office, we would go get happy hour together or drinks after work together. We always hung out together and it was like fun. And also because a ton of our clients were like Budweiser, Bud Light, Stella Artois, like Jack Daniels, like we got fully stocked bars. So we were just like always hanging out at the office, and it was cool to be around more creatives, and also creatives in a different way than Urban Outfitters and like all these other like odd job freelance stuffs I've been doing, because like this was fully like branding, design, packaging, like things I didn't necessarily have a huge understanding of at the time, but learned very quickly a lot about. So I did my stint at JKR, had the time of my life, really did, but like worked hard and made like great connections. Like to this day, I still work with some of the people I met there, which is sick. But I felt like I needed a switch from agency life, and I kind of wanted to work in-house again on a creative team. And I ended up getting a job at Harry's Inc. Harry's was like one of the OG really successful startups, DTC startups for like shaving, and they started a women's brand called Flamingo, and I helped build the creative ops team there. And yeah, I fucking loved it. I did a ton more photo production and way more like sinking my teeth into a brand, again, like similar to Urban, but like Urban's a little different because you worked on the Urban brand, Urban Outfitters brand, but then you also worked with all the brands that you were bringing into Urban and how that kind of all worked together and how you were going to market those. Like it was just simply a little different bringing in-house in one brand that you were trying to market those products only of. So again, I learned a ton and I had a great time. And all the while, this is so funny to me. At one point between like me being freelance to full-time at Jones Knowles Richie, I ended up moving in with one of my best friends and one of my roommates from college in Chinatown. So we were living in a literal shoebox. Like my bed, full-size bed, it touched like all three walls and like a heater, like a heater pipe. It was like the first tenement building in New York. Like this place was like, if you touch the pole, you get like a 3rd-degree burn. Like it was fucking crazy, but it was so fun. Like I was never in my apartment because I was always out at work or like after work getting happy hour with people, or like just like fucking living in New York and being so young like that. I was just like, I joke about it, and I even talk about it with like Emma on the podcast too. Like we were just never home. We were never in our apartments because like, I don't know, I feel like especially pre-COVID New York, like you just weren't in your apartment. You were out at bars, you're out wherever. When I left JKR and I made friends obviously working there because you're always together, you're working a ton. I think I thought I met some like really lifelong friends, and I have met like, they were incredible people and I had such great times with them. But I think like because I had all these friends now from like work that I was hanging out with these people all the time, I entered like this new job at Flamingo being like, I don't need any friends. I'm here to make my money, do a great job between these hours, and I'm gonna peace. Especially because I had been like working so hard at JKR and so much, like so late at night and stuff like this. Like you're never really off, right? So then when I started at Flamingo, it was an insane like work-life balance check to me, because like people would leave the office at 4 p.m. and I was like, it's the middle of the day. What's going on? And I would get there at 8 a.m. and I would be the first one in the office. And I think like right before COVID, because while I was at Flamingo, COVID hit New York and that was like crazy. But right before that, like I was really into like this whole idea of like, I would like go out every night and I'd be drinking every night or like going to happy hours or whatever. But then I would still wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym or go to a workout class before work. So like I was doing that for years. I was into that even in college too. That was like my thing. And I was always up early. I was always early at work. I was always like working so hard. La 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 la. So like I would get to the office at like 8:30. I'd be like one of the first people there, one of the two, like kind of throughout my entire career up until this point, and then leave and have my thing. One of the things that we even talked about like on my other episode with Emma was that when I met her at Flamingo, like I was like, oh, I don't need fucking friends. Like, I don't need anything. But I met her. And I think also it's important to note, especially because I hardcore hammered in that didn't ever have any friends. I did have friends, but I think like in my mid-20s, it was really solidified that like these people are my fucking support system. And they're like, they match my energy. And like, these are the people I want to be around. And and I'm inspired by them, and they build me up and I build them up. And like Jeff, who's also been on the podcast, like I met him living in New York in my first few years. I met my friend Laura, and I met like Monica was like my main friend from college that I hung out with around New York, but she also left so quickly and moved to LA. So we didn't really have like the same New York experience together. But Monica's also going to be on the podcast. And I met my friend Bia when I was in my first few years in New York, during this time where I was like, I'm not like, I don't need any friends. I don't need any of this. Like, I'm here to work. I'm going to fucking work my ass off, blah, 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 blah. But I think like with the second I stopped thinking about trying to forge these friendships and have these friend group things, especially like idolizing the way that my mom had her friends, like when I was growing up and stuff, the second I stopped thinking about it is when it kind of happened. And I kind of feel like it's similar in most people say that about like romantic relationships, like when you least expect it, it happens so beautifully. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I think that kind of happened with me. And like I have the most incredible friends now, like genuinely some of the most amazing people in the world. And that's another reason why I wanted to start the podcast, to kind of like introduce the people that have inspired me so deeply. I want them to have a platform slightly, even if it's 45 minutes or 30 minutes, to inspire someone else. Or like I want someone to be able to listen to something that I say or they say, or like some anecdote from like our past and be like, holy fucking shit, that really resonates with me and like really makes me feel like, oh, I've been there, or I can do whatever you said you're gonna do. Like I can, I don't know, just be inspired in some way. So that's like another piece of why I wanted to start the podcast. That's kind of like how I was like trucking along, and then COVID hit New York and it was really crazy. And now I live in Berlin, Germany. And the way I talk to my friends here about COVID, it seems like it was super fucking different than the experience that I had in New York, because it was like really like you didn't see anyone. So that was like a really intense experience, because like I was working for this company, Flamingo. I think I already was like trying to potentially see what else was out there at the time. But then like the world kind of shut down, or my world definitely did. So at the time I had another roommate. She just never came home. So I was basically like living alone in this shoebox apartment in Chinatown in New York during COVID lockdown. And I think I had some really intense realizations with myself. I think I knew I didn't like love myself fully. I don't know, like I had really bad like romantic relationships in the past too. Like, but I think there was still a part of me that thought that getting in a romantic relationship would like save me somehow. Like I wouldn't need friends then because I would have this person, like, or like I wouldn't need, I don't know. Like I don't really know what I thought at the time. I don't know if I thought like a man would save me one day or whatever. And then I think I also like all through my 20s like dated people that were like always was like going after like these sad boys like subconsciously, because I could like fix them or like make them better subconsciously. Or maybe I did really even realize it, that I thought that finding someone to date would kind of like save me in some way. And I think like a lot of people, I think that idea resonates with a lot of people in general. A lot of like culture, and especially where I grew up, like I don't want to speak for like the whole world or anything, but like where I grew up, I feel like the vibe was very much like you go to high school, you go to college, you fall in love, you have your kids, you move back, you live in a city, you move back to the suburbs and you have your kids, or like whatever. Like it was very like, I feel like that's what I thought life was. And like you're married by like, you fall in love by 27, 28, you're married by 30, 31, like you have your kids. Like, I don't know. That's what I thought life was. And I think I realized that there's a million different ways to live life, and it's not just that. And that's like another reason why I wanted to start the podcast, because so many of my friends that I am inspired by today, and also the way that I live my life, like it's not that. Like I'm 31 and I am not settling down with anyone anytime soon, especially like I don't even know if that's even something that's ever going to happen for me. Like I just don't, like that's just so not on my wavelength. It's like where I'm at right now is like friendship, my career, fucking having fun. Like I don't know, like it's just so not the way that I thought life had to be. So I also want people to know that. I want that to resonate with someone, or I hope it does at least, throughout the episodes of this podcast. During COVID lockdown, I think I spent a lot of time with myself. I think I spent a lot of time like journaling, because I think I got into journaling. My mom actually had gifted me a gratitude journal that you wrote down 3 things you're grateful for every day, and there was like a small prompt, and then there was a quote or something. And I feel like that was like my gateway into journaling, because I thought journaling was like so silly before that. I also thought like mindfulness and meditation, I thought all this shit was so silly before this, because I don't know if there was like a stigma against it. I don't know why I thought this at all, but I just thought it was like silly. And so I started, I think in COVID, just like being like, well, I'm not fucking doing anything else. And like the Pilates girl I was doing at home had like it was like a 14-day challenge where it was like doing the movement for 15 minutes or whatever it was. And then it was like a 5-minute meditation. So then I was like, I'm doing nothing else being sat in my apartment other than working and drinking rosé, because at the time I was drinking a ton of rosé. Haven't drank it since because it was too much rosé. I started doing this meditation challenge that I even thought was silly. And as I'm doing it, for the first like day, I was like, oh, I feel good, like whatever. But I think day like 3 or 4 or 5, I was like, holy shit, I feel incredible. This meditation shit is no joke. And then I think it was like through that, there was like a lot of like meditation that I would do that was like random guided ones that I would do that like maybe touch on self-love or whatever. And I would be like hysterical. And I like really realized I didn't fucking love myself. And I think like I had this realization, I don't know how old I was at the time, I guess maybe like 27, 28, where I was like, if I don't love me, how is anyone gonna love me? And I know that sounds so silly, but I think it just like clicked. And then I was like, well, how am I gonna love myself? Because that's the tea. Like, you gotta, I guess. I don't really know what was it, like the thing that connected me to being like, I'm gonna love myself. But I started doing affirmations, like looking at myself in the mirror randomly, just being like, I love you. And I would like cry because I knew it was a lie. And I would be looking at myself in the mirror and being like, bitch, we're gonna fake it till we make it on this one, because you shouldn't be crying, looking at yourself, being like faking it, fake saying I love you. And I'm not even joking. It really fucking worked. It really worked. Cause like, even now I still do affirmations to this day. It's like, I think it's one of the most important things. And I think it sounds crazy, or maybe the old version of me thinks that sounded crazy. I don't want to hear about people's fucking affirmations, blah, blah, blah. It fucking works. I'm sorry to say it, but I wish I knew about it earlier. And I wish I knew about meditation earlier too. And just like being still and being with your thoughts, because I think so much more inspiration and good shit, like the good shit comes from that. And then like through like this like gateway drug journaling that I was doing about gratitude, like I started doing this gratitude practice of being like grateful for things. And then everyone says it, but it's true. When you start becoming grateful for certain things and you start realizing what you're grateful for, like you realize more and more things to be grateful for, and you're just like a happier person. And I don't think I like went from 0 to 100 of happiness or anything, but I definitely started being happier, and I definitely started loving myself. I started loving myself. I don't think I fully I think this took years to fully get into really and dig into. But I'm just like proud that I started on that journey at some point. And I think, I think I might have been 27, 28 at that time. I wish I obviously did earlier, because I don't think anyone should go through life not loving themselves. Girl, the longest relationship you have is with yourself. And you better treat you like a fucking queen. And you better love yourself, because you're amazing. What's there not to fucking love? Everyone has like all these incredible qualities. Even if you think shit about yourself in some ways, like you still have 4,500 other amazing things that are way better that you can think about. And you can affirm yourself to become better in the things that you want to become better at. Surround yourself with people that inspire you, because then those people become your support system. I think there's been times in my life where I've looked around at the people I've been hanging out with, because I heard a quote once before I moved to Berlin: you're an agglomeration of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And then I was thinking about the people I spend most of my time with. And I was like, oh my God, if anyone said like, you remind me of XYZ, I'd be like, I hope not. I think that might have been even in a meditation or something. I don't fucking know. But I was like having a real think with myself, being like, girl, if you're hanging around with people that you would be upset that people would like, if you got compared to them, or said, yo, you're just like them, then why are you spending your time with them? Just to do stuff? All these started realizations like as I was coming out of COVID, and kind of on this journey of self-discovery, self-love, self-value. That was a real big moment, I think, when I was like, all right, I want to really be around people that inspire me, and I want to be like them, Post-COVID New York, when things started opening up again, it was like really fun, but it wasn't the same vibe. And I think like I was just itching to kind of get out of anywhere, because I hadn't traveled or done anything. And my sister moved to London right after COVID, or maybe during the end of it. And then one of my best friends during COVID at the beginning moved to France, but then moved to Paris. And then another one of my friends who like we weren't really that close, but we were friendly in the same friend group. She moved to Berlin, and I was like, well, if I do like a little Euro trip, I'll visit my sister, and then from London, and then in Paris, I'll visit Laura, and I'll visit my friend in Berlin, and we'll see what's up. And like I get to Berlin after like all these weeks of traveling. I'm only in Berlin for like 3 days, and she's like, my friend was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I heard there was fun parties. What's that about? You know? And she was like, that's it? That's all you want to do? I was like, yeah. I just want to see what is this about? Like, you know? Like I was here for 3 days. The first day we ended up going to dinner. We ended up like at a house party. I was at this house party and I was like, people were like, oh, you're from New York? And I was like, yeah. It was very like that, like New York or nowhere kind of vibes. And people were responding to me like, oh yeah, when I used to live in New York, or like the reasons I like Berlin more than I like living in New York, or I liked New York, but what I found when I was living in Paris, or all like just like living all over the world, everyone was from everywhere. I was like, oh, I feel like it humbled me real quick. And I was like, okay. Like everyone's so creative. Everyone had like this weird, like creative energy or like side hustle mentality. And nobody fucking asked you what you did. Like the first thing people did in New York at the time, and I'm sure they're still doing it now, it's like, what do you do? And it's like the way that people would just act so like glazed over if it wasn't the answer they wanted to hear, kind of, or like you couldn't help them in some way. That like upset me about the way that people socialized in New York. But when I came to Berlin, it was like completely not like that. And then we went out and we met more people, and we went to another house party another night, and I ended up meeting like some of my best friends that I hang out with now at this other house party, like whatever. Like, I don't know. I just felt this crazy gut feeling at the end of the weekend that I needed to move to Berlin. It was nuts, obviously, because I lived in New York and I was like, I had thought I found like my forever apartment even. I had all these friends. But I think once I got to Berlin, I was like, this is the right place. Like I had never felt so myself. And I don't know really how I got like unlocked like that, because then all of a sudden, like, living in New York I guess I lived in New York for another year before I moved. I went December in Berlin, and that's when I was like, I'm going to move. And then I think I wanted to like go to Berlin one more time for like another 3 days to just double check. And that was, I think, in September of the following year. And then I moved the following March. And like, that was a whole other thing where I was like, how am I going to move? How's it going to work? Blah, 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 blah. How will my life be? Blah, 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 blah. But like, the only thing I knew that was like my driving force was this crazy gut feeling that I had to do it. And also the fact that I had never felt more myself than anywhere else in the world. Like I saw one of my friends has a podcast, and she was talking about mental health. Whatever she was saying, it really resonated with me at the time. She was saying like, I felt like I was a turtle in a world of dogs or something, like living in New York or living in wherever I grew up, or maybe it was like even more different, like world of fish where I grew up. I don't know. But I always just felt like a turtle in a world of like these other things. And then I came to Berlin, and it was like, not only were there turtles here, but there was like fucking every other fucking animal. And like everyone was like, yo, we love turtles. Or like there was just a vibe about like turtles being chill here. I don't really know how to like explain how I felt, but I never felt more myself. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And that's why Berlin is like a home to like a ton of all these people that come here that maybe don't feel accepted elsewhere. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone that lives in Berlin or has moved to Berlin. I am here because I feel that way. And I think I also moved here knowing one person, and this person, I think I thought like it would be, you know, while I was freaking out about how the fuck I was going to make it happen, moving my whole life here. And also like, I finally have all these friends like that I don't know, I did a quote. I have all these friends, and I'm still friends with them, that like are finally supportive and amazing. Like, why would I leave all that behind? Like I spent my whole life wanting friends, and now I finally have these amazing friends. And now I'm just packing up and moving to Berlin where I don't know anybody. Like that's crazy. But I was like, I literally felt like I had to. Like there was no other way. So I moved to Berlin, obviously. I was trying to figure out like the logistics of it all for like the first 6 months, where I was gonna live, trying to find friends, trying to like figure out how you balance like work life if I'm gonna get certain jobs. Like everything felt so unknown, and everything felt so similar to the time that after I graduated college and I was doing random odd jobs, commuting into the city, trying to just like make more network people, blah, 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 blah. And I felt like I constantly was obsessed with this idea of like, how am I going to make it work? How am I going to make it work? How am I going to make it work? But at the end of the day, it's like you just need to fucking like be present, because like life's gonna pass you by, bitch, if you keep worrying about the future and like how things are gonna work out. I think I like also wish I had a little slap on the face for the first 6 months that I was here too, especially because the first like 3 months I was so miserable. Like I wasn't miserable, but I was fucking miserable. Like I would be talking down on myself. I'd be like, well, everyone else had it easier because like all these people like moved here with their partners, or they moved here because of a job, or they moved here and they knew people, but like I don't. And it's like sitting in that self misery doesn't help anybody. And being a victim, like this victim mentality, doesn't fucking help anybody. And I think I knew that, but I didn't realize it until I saw my mom after like a few months, and she was like, you keep saying how happy you are, but you seem miserable. And I was like, okay. And I cried for 5 hours, and I went for a run for 5 hours, like run crying, which is a classic move of mine when I'm really going through it. I was like, yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow, but she was right. And I needed someone to kind of shake me, I think. And then what did I do? I went back to working on my affirmations in a different way, and kind of thinking, like trying to manifest in different ways, like thinking like about like who I wanted to be in Berlin and like what I actually wanted, being way more grateful for the stuff I already have. Obviously, I can dig deeper into like all of these things. I just kind of wanted to edit my life in Berlin now and stuff too, but I kind of wanted to just do a whole overview of like who the fuck I am and why I started a podcast and why, I don't know, someone will want to listen to it. So this is kind of like where I'm at. And I have lived in Berlin for like over 2 years now, and I have an incredible support system. I have amazing friends. I have done so many fun, cool, fucking creative projects, but also I've just done so much cool shit. And like I've had so much more fun than I ever had in my entire life. And like, yeah, there's dark sides to Berlin, and yeah, there's dark sides to life, and there's really shitty things happening in the world. I feel like I can finally say that like I love myself so deeply and I value myself so much. That is really fucking sick. I really want for people to have the same experience that I've had of like these really loving relationships, like with yourself, with your friends. I want people to respect who they are and feel like whoever their authentic self is okay. I obviously want the world to be a much better place and people to be way fucking kinder to one another. And I'm not saying I'm a fucking saint and I've been like kind to everyone my whole life either, but I just think what I want is for people to be inspired to be better, to be themselves and to be the best versions of themselves. That's why I started this podcast. So listen to me, listen to my friends, listen to all the people that'll come on here, because a lot of them have been scared too to be vulnerable and put their shit on the internet, or have me put their shit on the internet. But I do think it's gonna be sick, and I'm excited for the ride. And hey, enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Any questions, comments, concern, compliments that you want to drop, please, as always, do so in the comments below. And have a lovely week.